Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel, wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Thursday. Yes, indeed, it's Thursday. This week's flying on by. Very little's happened. Doesn't matter, though, because we have a few new things to be speaking about. Today, I'm going to go much more into detail with statistics here. And then, obviously, we have tomorrow's event with the Jackson Hole Lizard Gathering, whatever the fuck happens over there. Who knows what sort of owl god they might be worshiping. But I do expect that based off of whatever sort of announcement that they do make afterwards, probably going to see markets move a little bit to and fro, obviously. Anyways, with that said, I did want to issue a quick correction here before we get into the content of today's video with yesterday's video, as it did announce that ByBit is having a promotion where essentially if you deposit $1,000 into your, I guess, USD account or similar, then you get $1,000 in Ethereum. That is not fully correct. The rules are, as I read them off the list over here, in order to claim the $1,000 airdrop, you need to, one, sign up under the affiliate link that is in the description or comment section below, and then you need to deposit $1,000 into your derivative wallets within 7 days. And then also the big thing is, and this is kind of like in the small writing right here, after that, you go into your rewards account on ByBit, and then you choose a long or short position, and they'll give you basically $1,000 in contract position, or you can just basically take a $100 bonus in Tether. So it's not necessarily like $1,000 in Ethereum, it's $1,000 in contract position that you can then play, which is kind of like a free roll, but hey, you know, not necessarily the same thing as receiving it. So did want to issue that correction very, very quickly right there. All right, sweet. So let's just jump into it right now. I wanted to start it off right on over here with the one big bad chart to rule them all, the one chart that we've been following quite a fair bit here that has been governing downside biases since the last breakdown from about $45,000, kind of where we're at right now. And this is the daily volatility versus stochastic momentum chart. We'll go over it yet again. I do know that it's boring for the people who have been here, but there is some very important things to be aware of and some new things that'll be presented on this as well. Anyways, first things first, what is the signal that we're looking at? We're looking at when not BBWP, but when stochastic volatility represented by this metric that my cursor is currently tracing right here is at extreme lows, which I define as basically anywhere in these low levels that you see correlated with these green vertical bars. Anyways, in this case, we did see yet another one of these signals on the 17th to 18th of August with downside stochastic momentum as well, which has accurately gone the direction on those volatility expansions quite often. In fact, if you want a number on it, it would be about 89% of the time. Anyways, in this case, from that signal, we have already seen about an 18 and some odd change percent move right there, about 18.30. And when we go over the average moves and a few other new details, I did want to provide some color onto this. So first things first, the average move from signal given was about 23.76%. The average days taken was about just over 8.5 days, which, by the way, I think we're pretty damn close to right now. Let me just double check. Okay, whoops, it's kind of hard to see. There we go. Yeah, we're at day number 7 right now. So I would say that that's reasonable, you know, reasonable to be expected. And then, of course, the stochastic momentum also has gone in the correct direction about 90% of the time almost. But what is new here is I calculated the standard deviation, which is actually 11.64 from the average move. So that essentially implies that 68% of the results we would expect to be between 12.12% and 35.40% as far as the average move goes. So when we look at the when we look at the current move as already having played out over 18.25%, is that within the first standard deviation? Yes. So is it relevant in alignment with the average days taken to say that we've certainly seen, I shouldn't say certainly, but we've extremely likely seen the strong majority of that move already play out, and perhaps even that whole move born upon that signal play out? I would say yes. So it's time to likely put this one to rest. Technically speaking, I should look at the momentum pivot over here, and you will notice that the daily stochastic momentum oscillator for CME is still pivoted at 22,200. So as long as Bitcoin's below there, momentum will remain to the downside. But as you can see, the stochastic itself is, you know, pretty fucking low here. It's going to be difficult to keep things that low for that long. That does potential, if that does, you know, start to curtail itself, that does align with the potential that we do see a continuation on this bounce. So over the past couple days, over the past 48 hours, we're saying, hey, you know, Bitcoin probably puts in a short-term time frame bounce here. We're seeing that right now. I mean, we've kind of already seen a move nearly to $22,000. I do think that it could go maybe a little bit more, definitely possible. But this next chart is really going to help set in the biases for, the more long-term to come. And when I say the more long-term to come, I mean like this next month, basically, of price action. This is a completely new chart, by the way. And so, and I do find that it actually works incredibly well, maybe even better than the daily, as we're going to be looking at the 2-day time frame for CME. Same setup as far as the indicators go. We're looking at volatility versus stochastic momentum right here. What's interesting about this chart is that we have a fully contracted volatility signature on the lows right here, alongside a nose-diving 2-day stochastic momentum oscillator, of which that will remain with downside caution as long as Bitcoin's below 24,660. So again, Bitcoin could very easily rally up above $22,000, even to, theoretically even to $23,000, and still remain with that downside posturing, which I do look at as kind of a concerning signal coming into September, which historically speaking has been a down month for Bitcoin. Now, there has been some pushback on the statements that I made about September, which, I'm literally just relaying statistics, which about 9-10 of the last 13 Septembers have been downside months. Well, the thing with that is people are saying, well, it's midterms, and so midterms must be bullish. Yeah, after fucking September. If you actually go and backtest this, which really doesn't take too long, by the way, and you just put on a monthly right here, you can very quickly find that September 2020 was a down month over here. And if we go to September 2018, another down month over here. Hey, guess what? Those were both fucking midterms now, weren't they? So 2 seconds of due diligence can very quickly, negate that. In case you're wondering, the only upside Septembers that we've seen, like closing green, were I think the first 2 Septembers in Bitcoin's history, but don't quote me on that one just yet. I know that they were very, very early, however. Anyways, in this case, this signal I did want to bring up the statistics for, because they're a bit more sobering, and we have seen several of these play out even in the past 3-4 months here. The last most meaningful one was, of course, on April, the April drop down from about $40,000 to $30,000, or sorry, more like $25,000 on a wick low right there. But here's the thing. Here are the stats that follow this move, this setup. The average move, a lot bigger than the daily, as you would imagine. It's a fucking 2-day time frame versus the daily. The average move here, 45.89%. Average days taken, 24.4. So, about just over 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, basically. The stochastic momentum also has gone in the correct direction on the volatility expansion, 87.5% of the time. It's actually 7 out of 8, in case you're wondering. And then the standard deviation for this one is 14.14. So if we were to come up with a range for 68% of the results, we'd be looking at about 31.75% to about 60 or a little bit over 60% of a move from that signal given, which again, signal given is when volatility expands, and then looking at the stochastic momentum oscillator's direction at that same time. So as of right now, it's obviously not expanding. Do I think that's going to expand today? It might start today, but it probably happens tomorrow based upon that event, to be fair. Anyways, in this case, you can very, very quickly notice, again, with the stochastic momentum pivot at 24,650, as long as Bitcoin's below there, and that will change tomorrow, by the way. But for now, as long as Bitcoin's below there, Bitcoin could put in a short-term rally and still remain with that long-term, or that, September downside posture, if you will. So of course, it completely depends upon where Bitcoin is when the signal actually fires off, when we can actually start to apply those statistics. But we could be looking, or we're very likely looking at a move, at least about 30%, maybe even upwards 50, which is kind of insane, which could very easily put Bitcoin back down around its current lows, maybe even a little bit lower. If it comes to the upside, which would be a welcome surprise for sure, that would put Bitcoin, probably, or not probably, it would put it basically around $30,000, a little bit above $30,000 most likely. Of which, again, I will let my opinion kind of fall by the wayside here, because these statistics should just stand as they are. Anyways, taking this one step further, I wanted to go over here and check out the 5-day time frame. The 5-day time frame on spot price action, we did observe hidden bearish divergence as of, I think this was confirmed last week. Sorry, week and a half ago, about 10 days ago, on the rejection that we did see from $25,000. Does that imply that Bitcoin still has more downside to go? It would say that the probabilities are on the side of that, with a return back down somewhere around about $20,000. Again, it can maintain this hidden bearish divergence while still remaining below, especially $22,500. So I would, I would be very cognizant of that. I mean, basically anything below $22,500, let alone fucking $24,500 for that momentum pivot, I do still look at as, potentially short-term rally, but likely leading in for that move into September. Anyways, moving on to the next thing, let's go down to the lower term timeframes. Go to a 4-hour right here. Let's go to CME as well. And what do we have? We have a little bit of a gap down from yesterday's price action. We're kind of filling that gap right now. Not that it matters too much on this sort of intraday nonsense, no, intraday price action. But if we go check out momentum oscillators, this is where I do start to think, yeah, Bitcoin could very easily extend the short-term rally here. 12-hour stochastic momentum remains the upside as long as Bitcoin's above $21,000. Currently doing a good job of that, for at least for the 12-hour. 6-hour is upside angled basically at the same level, $21,000. 4-hour is also upside angled as long as Bitcoin's above 21,550. A little bit closer here, obviously, but still with, still above there, obviously. 3-hour is also, or it's actually going to be down, but will turn back above 21.8. And the hourly is going to be headed up as long as Bitcoin is above 21,400. So the 3-hour is kind of the odd man out right there. You can see where all those pivots come in. Does it allow for maybe one more try to the upside? Definitely possible. Maybe even a little bit above $22,000. But again, those momentum pivots on this time frame over here, the 2-day CME, and obviously the daily as well, those are still relevant as far as I'm concerned. In kind of not necessarily looking at this as like a major low as of right now. I think if Bitcoin's going to put in a major low, I think it probably happens end of September, early October, just personal opinion. But yeah, I think that essentially does it for today. Should we go over the actual ranges on the 4-hour here? It's kind of the same thing as before. Yesterday, 0.5s coming in right around like 21,675 if you want to be like super, super exact on the number. On CME, that is, to the downside, 20,800 basically on a 4-hour closure. Closing above the range highs. And yeah, I would be looking for that continuation to low 22s, like 22,200 to 22,400-ish region. And obviously, while it's not as relevant right now because Bitcoin's further away from it, if it does close below the range lows here, then that's when I'd be looking for that move to happen sooner rather than later to the downside, with targets back down towards 19 to 19,500 bucks. Anyways, I think that's probably a good place to leave it off for today. Kind of wrapping it up. Short-term timeframes, again, maybe one more try to the upside here. I think that that's definitely possible, based off of the momentum oscillators over here, accompanied by extremely low BBWP, which suggests that kind of due for a move, dare I say. And but the higher term timeframes do still suggest caution as far as that goes, as long as Bitcoin's below those momentum pivots, at least in the way that I look at things. Other than that, I should once again quickly shill my Instagram. I've been posting like a madman over there, both Bitcoin analysis, both trading related sort of content, and also unrelated content as well. There'll be a link in the description below. Other than that, I want to be wishing you well, want to be wishing you the best, and much love, and take care, and see you hopefully soon.